Greetings, citizens of Nerdtropolis. Jean-Claude here, the mayor of Nerdtropolis, and on this episode of Real Insights, my guests are actor Zach Scheerer and writer, director, and producer Sheldon Lettich. Well, hello, gentlemen. How are y'all doing?
Awesome.
We're doing good.
Zach, it's great to see you again, bro. It's great catching up with you like always. And Sheldon, an extreme pleasure to meet you. Thanks for taking the time to chat today.
Okay, well, this is what it's called, Nerdtropolis, right?
That is it. You're speaking to the mayor of Nerdtropolis.
And I am a nerd, so I belong here. This is my place to be. So thank you for inviting me.
No, it's perfect. I appreciate the connection we have. Thanks to Zach. Sheldon, how did Zach land on your radar? You know, this is a great, I think, partnership in the works right now. So
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So how did that happen?
Well, there's a producer named Warner Davis. That's his name, right, Zach?
Yes,
Warner
sir.
Davis.
Good old Warner.
He had read one of my screenplays that was sent by our producer, actually the guy who's producing Mouthful of Knuckles. And he wanted to get in touch with me about possibly producing this screenplay. So we ended up talking. We had a face-to-face meeting, and he brought Zach along. And I was very impressed with Zach. And I just kept Zach in the back of my mind, just knowing that you don't find somebody like Zach every day. In fact, a number of years ago, Sunil Shah wanted me to direct a sequel to Lionheart. They wanted to do Lionheart 2. And they had a script, which I didn't like very much. It was not written by me, but they had a script. And they were all set to go. Basically, they had all the sequel rights. It was their movie. The roadblock that we kept running into is, well, Jean-Claude did not want to be in the movie. He didn't want to reprise his role in there. He was doing other things. He was doing big stuff for Universal and Columbia. So he didn't want to revisit Lionheart. And so our dilemma was, well, we're not going to have Jean-Claude, so who's going to star in this movie? Who's going to be our lead guy? Who's going to be our Lionheart character? And we just couldn't find anybody at the time, and that really put a damper on the project. Now, had I known Zach at the time, I would have said, hey, what about this guy, Zach Scheerer? Yeah, he'd be perfect. And I'm sure they would have liked him, and Lionheart 2 would have been made, but it didn't get made, and it's still just sitting there, wanting to happen. But at least I found, yeah, there you go. Well, you never know if these guys, that company had some huge problems after Lionheart. They did some other movies, all of which flopped. They did a movie called Double Dragon, which was just a complete nightmare.
We grew up with that. That was our jam, I'll tell you that.
Oh, yeah. Well, based on the video game, but the movie, they had a first-time director on it, a guy who had been doing, I think, music videos. And I was a first-time director for a feature on Lionheart. So first-time directors make good movies all the time, but not every time. And this guy really did not have it together. They fell behind schedule by months. I mean, they were like months over schedule, over budget, and it would have been okay if the movie at least turned out good, but it didn't. It was a terrible movie, and that started sinking their company. They tried to make another movie. They made some science fiction movie. I forgot the title now, and they had a good director. They had Walter Hill directing it. They had what's the guy who was in Sex, Lies, and Videotape? The actor who's in that.
I have not seen that
name right now. What's that?
I have not seen that.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that one either.
Okay,
but we probably have to.
Good movie. But they had that guy was the lead. Like, you guys can't even remember his name, so obviously
there you
that
go.
was not a great choice for the lead. Look, Walter Hill's a great director, but he just didn't have the resources to make a good science fiction movie. So that one ended up going in the tank also, not making any money. Eventually, Imperial Entertainment went out of business. Yeah. Now, the rights, they have the rights to Lionheart, to a Lionheart sequel. And there have been producers who've tried to get a sequel made. In fact, they'd even approached Jean-Claude about being in a sequel. And Jean-Claude was, he's up for it now. If somebody can get the sequel together, he'll do it. But the company's out of money, and they sold rights all over the world also. So basically, they sold rights. They got people to put money into the movie in exchange for having a right to make a sequel. So there's people all over the place, like France, Germany, Indonesia, Japan, everywhere who've got sequel rights to Lionheart. If there's a sequel of Lionheart that's made, we get a piece of it and we get to say something about it. And that makes things difficult if you're trying to do a sequel, unless you've got all the money that you need and you don't have to go back to these people. So then you just go ahead and make the movie. But none of that's happening. So there's not going to be a sequel to Lionheart, but we're kind of doing a sequel. We're almost doing a sequel to Lionheart because Mouthful of Knuckles is very, very similar in many respects. But it's part of this genre that Jean-Claude and I really started with Lionheart, about illegal underground fights, and somebody getting caught up in a situation where he has to fight, doesn't necessarily want to fight. He's not out for blood, but he's kind of forced to fight, and that's what we've got here. And there's been so many versions of Lionheart that have been made, and some of them have been kind of successful. Like there was Michael J. White made one called Blood and Bone, which is pretty much Lionheart. I mean, just every beat in Lionheart is in Blood and Bone. And then there was a movie called Fighting.
Channing Tatum.
Channing Tatum. And he even had like a black guy who was his manager. So very, very similar to Lionheart. I forgot the name of the guy who played the manager in that one. But that movie did okay. That didn't do huge business. But it's Lionheart, like just beat for beat. I went and saw it in a movie theater with my friend Luis Esteban. And we just keep looking at one another saying, well, shit, this is Lionheart. Okay.
That just shows you, though, Sheldon, how important that movie is to the world, and what you created was amazing and such a great story. I mean, just tons of fun, so appropriate for its time too. And people are trying to replicate it because it just has a special meaning to them. And so no, that's a great film. And so I'm excited that you brought Zach on board for this. I mean, even if there's a Lionheart 2 and Jean-Claude's back, if that even happens, Zach can play like the long lost son that like ends in the same situation. There's a lot that could have been happening with that. But yeah, I think Zach is great for this. Zach, I see the poster behind you. I see the aesthetic of it. I guess you or Sheldon talk about maybe what type of aesthetic are we looking for? Because that's a really cool old school looking poster, very gritty, very kind of looks like a video game cover at the same time too. So what type of vibe are we going for Mouthful of Knuckles?
We're going for that Lionheart vibe, actually. And this poster was put together by the guy who wrote the script. David Kirst is the one who put the poster together, but not with Zach in it though. And then once we cast Zach, then Zach, I think you're the one who put that great image of yourself in there, right?
That's an image that I had taken in the past. And then basically they kind of flipped it and kind of, I guess, cartoonalized it is what you would say, I guess.
Right. Well, you know how to play with all that, the AI stuff.
Yeah. And so they kind of
I wouldn't have known how to do it, but so basically it's a combination of what David Kirst came up with, and then Zach put a great image of himself into the poster. And I think it's an awesome poster now.
No, I love it. Zach mentioned y'all were probably doing some scouting for locations. So what's the current timeline on this project? Where are y'all at currently for Mouthful of Knuckles?
Well, we're thinking sometime in the fall. They still don't have the entire budget together. They're raising some money in Ohio, and there were a lot of investors that were interested. So and maybe we'll find some other sources of money also. We're just trying to get a decent budget for this because Jeff Miller has produced quite a few movies, but they've all been extremely low budget, especially for me. Like I've never made a movie for that kind of money before. So we're trying to get, we want to at least have a few $1,000,000 and not try to make this movie. I don't want to make this movie for $300,000. Okay, to me that sounds completely impossible. So we're trying to get it together. We've got David Curzel hooked us up with this group in Miami. What's the name of that group? David is going to put the
it's like a celebrity boxing.
Celebrity boxing.
Yeah.
And they've kind of gotten on board with this, and they've even run some ads on Facebook where they actually mentioned Mouthful of Knuckles, like this is part of their agenda now, to do this and to do these fights. So they might be co-financing. We'll see what happens with that. But right now we don't have quite the budget together yet, but we have a lot of people that are interested that want to do it. It's not like we have no money. We do have some money, but not quite enough because I want to do this right. I don't want to make it look like some just cheap ripoff of Lionheart. Okay, it's going to be like Lionheart, but I want the quality to be at least up to that level that we had in Lionheart.
Will there be some room in the budget for a free cameo from me, just walking in the background, maybe handing something to Zach, making this full circle?
Well, we have crowds. We have big crowds.
I want to be in that crowd for sure.
Okay, well, if you can make it over to Mansfield, what? Oh, you're here in Houston,
yeah,
right?
I'm in Houston. Where are y'all filming at?
All right, well, you can drive up to Mansfield, Ohio.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and if you're there,
no,
I guarantee I'll put you in someplace.
Oh, well, perfect.
Okay?
Then this is a done deal for sure. Then.
Yes, sir. Get up there.
Zach, this is a very physical role coming up. You're a physical guy. You've been in the fitness world. I mean, you're a built guy. Are we going to expect you to bulk up even more? What's your physique going to be like for Mouthful of Knuckles?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to have I don't want a bodybuilder type physique because they're very rigid and they're not very elusive. But I mean, of course, I always have an aesthetic physique on me at all times. It's got to look like a fighter. I mean, he's a fighter, so he's got to have. I think he's got a perfect.
Zach's got a perfect body right now, just the way he is. He really doesn't have to bulk up any further than that.
I'll probably honestly lose weight, but you won't see it. I'll actually look bigger because once you kind of trim down and lose that body fat, the muscles pop more, the contours come out, and it makes you look bigger on screen if you're a lot more quote unquote shredded, So that's going to kind of be what I'm going to go at. It'll be more so probably losing a little bit of size, but you won't be able to tell. It'll look like I've gained size. So.
No, always impressive with your look for sure. What type of, fighting styles can we expect in this? What can we see fighting wise?
Well, I mean, he's a street fighter, but he does have, a background in the martial arts. So I wouldn't say you're going to see any type of specific fighting style in my.
We're not going to be doing John Wick style.
Yeah, you're not going to see that. Yeah,
it's going to be the movie that impressed me the most for fighting recently was oh crap,
Roadhouse.
It was
Roadhouse.
Roadhouse. You saw Roadhouse?
I saw that.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah, Roadhouse has got some awesome fights in it, and they all look very real. They don't look like something out of Hong Kong. We're not going for a Hong Kong style or a John Wick style. None of that kind of stuff. We want these to look like real, genuine street fights where people get hurt.
Yeah,
and people do some hurting. Okay, and it's not going to look pretty. We're not trying to make the fights look pretty in this one. We want them to be hard hitting and brutal. And not even like the fight scenes that I did with Jean-Claude, because with him, he did these great kicks, and a lot of times he'd say, "Hey, we got to shoot slow-mo on this," so we'd shoot these slow-mo kicks. We might have a little bit of slow-mo shots in Mouthful of Knuckles. I don't know for sure. It just depends on once we get the choreography together. We might say, "Hey, this shot needs slow-mo. This needs a wide-angle slow-mo look to it." we might say that, or we might be doing some quick cutting. I'm not sure yet. We don't have our fight choreographer yet. We need to get stuff worked out. And once we do, then that will dictate the style. But it's not going to, I'm not going for something that looks pretty, that looks like an exhibition. It's going to look like real stuff. And we're going to get in there nice and close. We'll see some real punches, some real hits, and it should be brutal, just like Roadhouse.
Oh, that's exciting. Zach, how has Sheldon's films really influenced your career and your passion for this type of stuff?
Oh man, I mean, I couldn't stop talking about it if I started. I mean, you're talking Lionheart, Double Impact, and writing Bloodsport. Those movies built me. I mean, I used to literally get home from school, throw in a Lionheart or a Double Impact, or and watch that before I headed off to my Taekwondo class. And that was like that on repeat for up until probably late high school.
We kind of got the ball rolling with Bloodsport. Because there wasn't anything really quite like Bloodsport before Bloodsport. Like people have said, well, Enter the Dragon was pretty much like Bloodsport. No, Enter the Dragon is nothing like Bloodsport. Enter the Dragon is basically
he's a spy
infiltrating this island to take down this drug lord.
Yeah,
it's not about a competition. There's a competition that's part of it. That's the enticements that they use to get people to the island, but it's not about the competition. Whereas Bloodsport was about the competition. And we, showcased. Yeah, it's funny when I originally wrote the script and we sent it out to people. We had I recall specifically it was Dino De Laurentiis, very famous Italian producer. So Dino read it, and his comment was, "This script is nothing but fight, fight, fight. It's fight, 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 then more fight, fight, fight." And I said, Dino, that's it. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it's supposed to be. But he couldn't see it at the time because it really was something. It was really something quite new at the time, where it's basically this martial arts competition. And sure enough, it is fight, fight, fight from start to finish. We've got some story. We've got some character development. Not a lot. We went more for the character development in Lionheart and Double Impact. But basically, this whole subgenre of martial arts movies, fight movies, really got going with Bloodsport.
Yes.
From Bloodsport on, there were a lot of movies like this. Blood Fist, Blood Fight, and it spawned a whole generation of martial arts guys that were making movies. That's all kind of died down in the last few years, but now who knows? Maybe we're going to revive that genre with Mouthful of Knuckles. We'll see how it does, but that's the tradition that we are a part of. Is the tradition that got started with Bloodsport, Lionheart, Double Impact, those kinds of movies, and look, people keep talking about this stuff. It's 30 years now.
We're talking about it now.
Yeah,
talking about it now. Yeah. And I keep running into people who tell me, just look, last week, you were with me, Zach. We met some people from Uzbekistan.
Yeah.
Okay. Like who's heard of Uzbekistan? It's way the hell out in Central Asia somewhere. And these two guys were saying, I grew up on your movies. Okay. And I keep running into people from all over the world who started martial arts training because of Bloodsport. They saw Bloodsport, and where's the nearest karate dojo? I'm going to start. I want to be like Van Damme in Bloodsport.
Yep.
And then I want to be like Van Damme in Lionheart. And that got a lot of people started. And so it's sort of coming in full circle now. I even had a book written about me. It's called From Vietnam to Van Damme. All right, that's me on the cover when I was 19 years old. And the reason that book got written and published and distributed is because people are nostalgic for those films, those action films from the 80s and 90s. And there's a lot of people that are missing those kinds of films. I read emails. People reach out to me from all over the world I read the stuff online, and there are people saying, "Hey, what happened to those kinds of movies? I miss those kinds of films." So we're going to try to bring it back here again. We'll see what we can do. But I think we got Zach is the perfect guy to take the lead in a movie like this.
And I've been training hard. I mean, I'll tell you, I have upped my training. It's through the roof right now. So you will see some JC style kicks, I'm sure.
Okay.
You'll see those. Right. We'll get some of those in there. I don't know if we'll be slow-moing it, but we'll be seeing that helicopter kick, I'm hoping. We'll be getting some...
Give me an excuse. Yeah, give me an excuse to use slow-mo, okay?
Oh, I'll give you an excuse, Sheldon. Trust me. I am literally working so hard on getting those kicks to a T perfect. And that's what I'm, you know. Yeah.
Well, Van Damme was the same way back in the day. He was, you know, he look, Jean-Claude's the real deal. Jean-Claude, when he was a teenager, he was taking Shotokan. He was studying with a guy in Brussels. He had a sensei there. So he goes way back with training in martial arts. He's the real deal. Jean-Claude, you know, people have said he's not a real fighter. He's a ballerina. But yeah, he did study some ballet just to work with the body movement.
And that's why he looked so great. He knew.
That's why he looked so great.
He had kinesthetic awareness. He knew where everything was, how it looked. He had multiple conversations going on in his head when he's doing stuff, you know?
Right.
So, yeah.
So Zach, as far as I know, Zach is the real deal too, because Zach's been training for years in this, and he's actually been in competitions. He's actually been in fights.
Yeah.
So this is not just somebody putting on an act. This is somebody who really knows how to do this stuff. And that's another reason I thought he was so perfect for this movie.
Outside of the fighting that Zach is capable of, and similar to Jean-Claude Van Damme, what did you see in Zach? What else did you see in him that reminded you of Van Damme?
Well, he looks good. Okay, he's got a good, not just the body, but the face. It was the same with Jean-Claude. When I first met Jean-Claude, I could see this guy's got he's got the markings of a movie star, of a movie hero. And I saw the same with Zach. You know, he's got the face, he's got the body, he's got the voice. He's a real actor. He's done some real acting before. So he's kind of got all these qualities that one would look for somebody to be the lead in an action movie like this. So I think I think I made a good choice here, and I think we got the right movie for this guy, and we'll see how it all goes. Okay, a lot of it depends on me too, and just knowing which shots to get. Like with Jean-Claude, I would always make sure he looked good. Now there were other movies he's made where he looked up. And people have complained about it online. They said, like, it looks like he's just sleepwalking through this movie. Or he's not doing the cool kicks anymore. He's got like a weird haircut, any number of things. I would always make sure that he looked good. Okay. Like we were in Israel getting ready to do The Order. And I actually went to a hair salon with him, you know, because we wanted to change his hair, wanted to make it a slightly different color, but his hair always looked good in my movies, like in the hardcore. He looks terrific. Now there were movies that he did on both sides of the hardcore, where he's got this, you know, kind of sleepy, drugged out look, and he's not very energetic in his acting. He's trying to be more, quote, real, all right, yeah. But I'm not looking for that kind of real. I want somebody to be an action hero.
Yeah.
Okay. And I want him to look good. And that's what, you know, Jean-Claude had that, and Zach just naturally has that. I don't have to do anything to him to enhance him. Like with Mark Dacascos, Mark was a bit skinny when I first met him. And then for Only the Strong, I said, once I decided we're going to use this guy, because he could also do the capoeira. He'd been studying capoeira. He could do all these crazy gymnastics, these acrobatics, stuff that Jean-Claude never could do. But Mark could do this stuff, but Mark didn't have a good look. He wasn't bulked up. And I said, Mark, you gotta bulk up. You got to start getting to the gym. You got to change your hair, make your hair, so we came up with the correct hairstyle for him. We got the correct wardrobe for him. I made sure that this guy, the hero in my movie, was going to look like the hero in an action movie, and he sure did in Only the Strong. Now, if you've seen some of his other movies, especially lately, he's gotten real skinny again, and he's cut his hair short. I don't think he's got that same look anymore. Now, if I was to do another movie with Mark, I'd say, Mark, come on, you got to hit the gym. You got to let's take you to the hair salon and get your hair worked on, and make sure he's got the right look. But Zach's already got the right look. But I'm pretty good at choosing angles that are going to look good on somebody. Like with Jean-Claude, if the lighting's not right, and if you're not getting the right angle on him, he doesn't look as good as he really should. And I would always make sure to get the right angle. Look to the lens and okay, Jean-Claude, turn your head to the right. Okay, you're going to look better in this shot with the lighting the way it is. So I'll be doing the same with Zach. Zach, I want you to look good in this movie, and you're going to look good in this movie. Okay, so that's an important part of directing. It's not just the angles and the acting and all of that. There's a lot more to it. You gotta frame it up so that you gotta get the right lighting on your actor so your actor looks good. Unless you don't want him to look good, but I want Zach to look good in this movie. So we're gonna do what we can, and fortunately, we don't have to do anything extra. Just look at this guy just on camera. He's perfect just the way he is. Okay.
I'll double down on that, Sheldon. That's for sure. When I first met Zach, I'm like, this is a guy, a hero in the making, as we can see it. So you picked the right guy for sure. Lastly, I'm going to ask Zach, what does it mean to you to work with someone like Sheldon?
Oh, I mean, to be honest, it's an absolute dream come true. I mean, I still pinch myself, Like I said, I mean, I've been watching these films since I was a kid, since I was 5, 6 years old. Martial arts has been an integral part of my life, and those movies, were everything to me when I was a kid. A lot of I not only the, fighting in martial arts, studying Jean-Claude and, how he moves and, his acting, you take certain things from certain people, of course, and then add what is essentially your own, So I'm sure, I was built by a lot of these movies, I'm sure there's little things I picked up, kind of subconsciously as well. But yeah, I mean, to me, I'm still pinching myself, you know what I mean? So, and I know that with Sheldon behind the camera and taking the reins and taking us out to sea, we're going to definitely get to a destination that, we never dreamed possible. I know it's going to happen. So, I know we're making all the right moves to get there. There's a lot of things going on behind the scenes right now that we can't really discuss, but there's some really good things and some really big things.
We just need a decent budget. That's what I always
and there's been some movement these past couple, weeks and days. And I'll tell you, I think it's going to be something bigger than even, we expected.
No, that's exciting. This project sounds really exciting. I'm excited for it. As you can tell, this conversation has been great. I don't think I've ever had a conversation leading up to a film production. So a lot of great insights. I'm going to be booking my trip ASAP. And this was really great. Sheldon, I also want to thank you for those great films that you delivered to us and plenty more you're going to be delivering to us. But thanks for putting Jean-Claude Van Damme in pretty much the center of the world and introducing us to him, because that was really a blessing in disguise too, because me and Zach grew up loving him. So really appreciate that. And Zach is our next big action hero.
Let's do it.
I'm counting on it. We're all counting on it. Okay. So I just need enough days to make this movie. That's people ask me, well, how much of a budget do you need? And I always say, no matter what the movie is, I don't care about don't tell me the numbers, because a lot of times producers lie about those numbers. I don't care about the number of dollars that you've got. Tell me how many days I've got. That's what I want to know. How many days have I got? Because I can't shoot a great movie in 2 weeks. All right. I need more than that. So that's, we're waiting and of course the money dictates the number of days you're going to have. So we're still waiting to pull all that together. But I'm confident in Jeff Miller. He's He's done quite a few movies so far.
And David Kurtz has just been trucking.
And David Kurtz has been terrific.
He is amazing.
So
you know,
he's a dynamo. He's a dynamo there. And,
I do have a question for you, Sheldon. How many days did it take to shoot Lionheart?
It was 39 days.
39. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
We want 39 days. All right,
We
Jeff.
want 39 days.
I love that. I can't wait to see more from Mouthful of Knuckles, hopefully from the set as I get up close and personal with y'all, hopefully when that happens. But thank y'all so much. This was fabulous. And until next time. Once again, this is Jean-Claude, the mayor of Nerdtropolis, and stay tuned for more movie news, reviews, interviews, and trailers.